There's only so much you can do with an engine before you have to start changing the internal components themselves. Maybe we'll get to something like that in the future, but for the time being we've got our nice high flow exhaust fitted, we've installed our high performance DNA air filter, and what that means is that the airflow to the engine is now completely unrestricted and free flowing, just the way we want it. Now, the air is only half of the equation here. There's no point in having all that extra air unless we've got more fuel to take advantage of it. We need to somehow change the amount of fuel that's injected into the engine. And to do that, we're going to install one of these. It's a Fuel X Autotune that can change the fuel air mixture on the fly as you ride along. The manufacturers claim it reduces jerkiness in stalling, increases torque, gives a better throttle response and a cooler running engine. So let's get it installed on the bike. Now the installation process itself is fairly straightforward, and the device does come with a step-by-step guide that you can follow. You do have to remove the tank, however that's fairly easy, and you don't have to disconnect the fuel lines, you can just kind of set it to one side. Plugging in the device is fairly easy, you can't really get that wrong with the way that the plugs match up. And then it's just really an exercise in cable management, just finding the right way to route that cable so it's out of the way, it's not flapping about in the wind, and it's not too close to any of the really hot components that are going to melt it or anything like that. Now I need to put some miles in the clock to let the little device do its thing, and I know just the right place.
So I've had this fitted for a few days now, done plenty of miles to give it plenty of time to do its thing, and I'm just going to show you a couple of examples where I think it's made a bit of a difference. So yeah, I'm going up this hill now, and as you can see here I'm in 5th gear, I'm doing 40 miles an hour, give it a wee twist of throttle and the bike accelerates, it responds really quickly. Beforehand, to get that similar performance I would have had to be in 4th gear instead of 5th gear. 5th gear on this hill with Fuel X and with the other modifications that we've made as well, now feels like 4th gear in terms of engine response, in terms of power coming up the hill. So here's a good example of the change that's been made. This little hill that we're about to go up here, normally this would have been a 3rd gear, popping down into 3rd before we go up it. You can see I'm in 4th, I'm at 30, give it some beans, bike responds straight away, accelerates strongly even though we're going up a hill. Again here I'm just staying in 6th, normally I'd pop it down into 5th for this corner, just staying in 6th now, coming through nicely, and you know there's still plenty to go whenever you give it some throttle coming out of that corner. Again, previously 6th gear would have been a bit flat under those circumstances, whereas now there's just that bit more torque when you give it some. It's a really lovely evening today, it's a little bit cold. The handguards would have been nice right now. Let's pull over. And you can see there the way it picks up in the middle of the rev range. It's just that bit more responsive. It's just more go. It's really hard to quantify and it's kind of hard to put into words, but there's just more oomph, if you like, in the middle of the rev range. 2nd gear and let's go. Down to 10 miles an hour. Let's go. Yeah, really good response. So 3rd gear, 25. And this time we're in 5th gear at 40 miles per hour. You can see it picks up there really quickly. The bike really just feels like it's just having a really good day, you know? It's just running really well, really sweetly and perfectly. Everything's kind of optimized. There's nothing holding it back. There's no kind of artificial restrictions on the engine or anything like that. And it's just purring along, sweet as you like when you want it to, but responding and giving you that little bit of oomph whenever you want that as well. It's a really beautiful evening as well.
So the obvious question then is whether or not these changes are even worth carrying out. From a financial perspective, they're definitely not. Any money that you spend in parts, you're never going to see that again. It's gone. You're certainly not going to increase the value of your bike, and you might actually decrease the value of it depending on what changes that you make. From a performance perspective, it's a little bit of a harder question to answer. There are definite clear benefits to making changes like this, but you also have to keep your expectations realistic. It's still a 1-cylinder 400cc engine. You've done fairly minor changes to it, so you can't expect that you're going to have double the power or anything like that. That's just not how this works. The red dotted line on these graphs represents an estimation of what I think the performance curves might look like now after the changes have been made. In both cases, you can see that the curve is extended to some degree, and it takes a little bit longer for the power and torque to drop off in the upper rev range. Now obviously those graphs are just estimations and they're not based in any empirical data, so bear that in mind. When I ask myself, do I think it's worth it to carry out these changes, then obviously the answer is yes. I mean, I have gone ahead and done that for my bike, but for me it's about more than performance. It's not just about, you know, the raw performance gains that you might get from making changes like this. There's also the kind of personalization of your bike from the mod perspective, and that's something that I really enjoy doing. The bike's a little bit more unique now with the changes that have been made to it, and I feel it's a little bit more optimized as well. It's been a really good learning experience. Changing the air filter was a nice simple start, and then the Fuel X system itself was a wee bit more complicated with having to remove the tank and all that stuff. It's a nice little progression into doing maybe more complicated things in the future. But that's all we've got for this week anyway. Stick around for next week. We've got some really cool stuff. I bought a bunch of random motorbike accessories from AliExpress, so we're going to check them out and see if there's any good ones, stick them on the bike. Probably not going to keep them on the bike, to be fair. Some pretty random stuff, but yeah, it's going to be loads of fun anyway. And then following that, hopefully the next week, going to have a brake upgrade, which is going to be a pretty major piece of work. Hopefully that goes well. Yeah, so looking forward to that as well. Once again, thanks for getting to the end of the video. See you again soon. Take care.